Stam says she was inspired by the woman that she aspires to be, a smart, a sophisticated and stylish city woman.
So I grew up in a very small town in the south of Johannesburg called Annandale, and I lived there for the first 15 or so years of my life before we moved over to Kayla. I moved over with my parents. I'm the baby, so my siblings are much older than me, and I was the only one who moved with my parents. So they basically moved me away from a place that I'd known all my life, and where I'd lived with my siblings, and we lived as a family, and moved me over to Kayla so that I can be closer to school. I went to Bryanston High School, so I commuted for the first 3 years from Annandale to Bryanston, which was like a hour drive, hour and a half with Joburg traffic. So you must know, like, I had to leave home at 6 a.m. To get to school on time every single day.
That must have had some impact on you growing up. So how did you end up evolving or moving into the fashion space?
So I always wanted to study fashion. My love from fashion actually comes from my mother. She worked in the bank for 20 plus years of her life. And I swear to you, when she went to work every single day, she looked like she walked out of a fashion magazine. She was so stylish. It's actually where the whole aesthetic of my brand and my love for workwear and office wear actually comes from, because I thought that she just had such an interesting and unique way of really bringing out her personality in her workspace. Even if it was admin work, no matter what it is, when you looked at her, you would think that she was the CEO of the company.
Having said that, what does Kayla Stam hope to redefine within the fashion space?
So, as I said, I really love the workwear space. I just love the fact that workwear is all about basics. It's all about, so my brand is about elevating basics, taking something that usually would be a basic, like a shift dress or a shirt, and really putting my own twist and my own design element into it and making it a lot more interesting for women so that they don't have to wear the same shirt for 10 years of their job. I want them to look interesting. I want them to have fun with it. I want them to know that they don't have to be so serious. They don't have to be so corporate when they go to work. I want them to have fun with it, and I want their personalities to shine through.
Having said that, you participated for the first time in SA Fashion Week. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
What was that experience like for you?
So I found the experience to be quite stressful. I don't think that the audience really knows how stressful it is for designers. I think that people think like, oh, it's so exciting, you're going to be doing Fashion Week, it's so fabulous. It's about 10% fabulous and 90% hard work and preparation. So it takes a lot of time to prepare a collection. Firstly, to conceptualize a collection, to make it look like a collection, to make every single piece that come out look cohesive and speak to each other. That part takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of preparation. So just the work before you even start a collection, there's so much that goes into it. And the thing is that we as designers don't get to actually enjoy our shows because we're backstage and we're running around dressing models, making sure that everybody looks perfect before we go and present for 3 minutes what we've been working on for the past 2 months. So I find it to be, it's exciting, but it is very stressful, and you really have to be dedicated to the process, and you really have to be focused as well, and you have to make sure that you're on time, because if your collection goes out there and it doesn't look the way you want it to look, it can be very disappointing. So you have to really be somebody who is a hard worker and who is punctual, and make sure that your collection is done on time.
And what was the response?
I feel that the response was really good. I think that I had a really fantastic show, it being my first show. I feel like afterwards when I watch the video, because that's the only way I get to see the show, I felt like it was presented exactly the way that I wanted it to be presented, from the outfits to the shoes to the way they were accessorized to the models and their natural hair and all of that. That was very exciting to me, and it really spoke to my brand, and I'm really proud of the way that my brand was presented for the first time on the SA Fashion Week.
Now, having said that, after SA Fashion Week, what's next?
That's a very interesting question. I've always been somebody who has wanted to do retail, right? I've always done retail. I started out at retail. I started my brand online. That's how I started out. But with the SA Fashion Week, and as I got closer to that mark, it kind of pushed me more into like boutique items and boutique experiences for people, and that's where my brand actually does the best. I my apologies, I supply some boutiques, and the response there has been really good, because I always thought that, oh, I'm going to be the next Zara of South Africa, and I still very well can be, you know, because of the pieces that we create. But there was a very high demand for a few more custom, really special pieces, and you'll see even with my show, the introduction of the feathers and the introduction of the beaded headbands and those kind of things. It really pushed me in a direction that I never really thought that my brand would go into.
From that perspective, what more do you think needs to be done within the fashion industry to not only promote but boost South African designers?
I definitely think that something that will be interesting for South African designers is to collaborate with our homegrown brands. I just feel like there's a gap there. I feel like there's a gap in retail. So I feel like as a designer, you're either bespoke or you're boutique, and you're not really retail. You're not really accessible to the masses of South Africa, and that is something that I am very passionate about. I think that if our bigger retailers can find ways to collaborate with South African designers and make sure that that people, ordinary everyday people, can have a piece of us, I think that we'd be going in a much better direction. Very similarly to the way that stores like H&M collaborate with bigger designers in order to give us a little piece of that, you know, like they collaborate with couture designers and they make it commercial and they make special pieces, those one-of-a-kind pieces that you can get, and it sort of makes us, who have been admiring these brands for years and years, it makes it more accessible to us. So I would love to see South African designers be more accessible to South Africans.
Now, here comes the fun question. You've said all of this. Where does Kayla Stam want to take the South African fashion industry?
I think that the South African fashion industry is very interesting, because I think that as South Africans, we're working on it, but we're still not at a point where we're super proud of items that are made in our country. And that takes a learning process, and that process is going to take some time. So for me, it's not about being special and bespoke and only for celebrities or high-paying clients. Where I would like to take the South African fashion industry is to make it accessible to to South Africans everywhere. I just feel like my passion for design has to meet my passion with retail, which I'm super, I get very excited when I think about that. I get really excited. I get excited thinking that a normal person can walk into a store and buy a Kayla Stam design and discover a Kayla Stam design without having to march over to a boutique in Sandton and sort of pay triple the price for it. I would really like South African designers to become a little bit more commercial, not necessarily in their designs, but in their accessibility to South Africans.
Hey, I'm Shakana, and you're watching Joburg Today.